Nile cruise on Nile TV, and as we just saw, we lost our great Professor Ahmed Zuwail, who passed away on August the 2nd. He was an Egyptian scientist known as the father of femtochemistry. He won the 1999 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work on femtochemistry and became the first Arab to win a Nobel Prize in a scientific field. He was the Linus Pauling Chair Professor of Chemistry, the Professor of Physics, and the Director of the Physical Biology Center for the Ultra-Fast Science and Technology at the California Institute of Technology. And on April the 27th in 2009, the American President Barack Obama appointed him to the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. And in November of the same year, he was named the first United States Science Envoy for the Middle East. Zuwail, who was 70 and a member of the California Institute of Technology, the Caltech faculty, was the sole recipient of the Nobel Chemistry Prize in 1999 for his pioneering work in femtochemistry, the study of chemical reactions in ultra-short time scales. An author of some 600 scientific articles and 16 books, he is also credited with developing a new research field dubbed the four-dimensional electron microscopy. Zuwail was born in the city of Damanhur, 160 kilometers northwest of Cairo. He studied at Alexandria University in the city where he grew up. He later moved to the United States and earned his PhD at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And to be speaking more about the late Ahmed Zuwail, today we're hosting Dr. Bahaa Abdel Mageed, the novelist and writer. Dr. Bahaa, thank you very much for being with us today on my cruise.
Well, first of all, the value of Dr. Zuwail is invaluable. So to you, how did the news of his death come to you?
I think this was a shock for everybody, even international academic institutions and research centers all over the world. And for us as Egyptians, Dr. Zuwail stands as an icon and as a symbol of the resistance and hard-working citizen who left Egypt to research for his doctorate at the United States, and he achieved a great merit by winning Nobel Prize, which is very prestigious prize for anybody like Naguib Mahfouz before, and Sadat and Dr. Baradei, and then came Zuwail, who won the Nobel Prize at 1999. And I think this is, his contribution to the field of science as an Egyptian, and he stressed all the time the value of pharaonic knowledge and the science and the chemistry, even in his lecture about his Nobel laureate lecture, that Egyptians arts and Egyptian medicine and the science have contributed a lot to the field of science and
Indeed,
technology.
Dr. Bahaa, we have to go to a quick break, and we'll continue talking to you about how did you receive the news of the death of Dr. Ahmed Zuwail.
And we have Dr. Bahaa Abdel Mageed, the novelist and writer, to be speaking about the passing of Dr. Ahmed Zuwail. Dr. Bahaa, Russia was asking you about the news. How did you receive it?
Yes, it was a big shock for everybody, as I told you before the break. And but I think that the spirit of the Egyptians or the spirit of Dr. Zuwail will continue, because before he died, he established the Zuwail Academy for Science, or Zuwail University, which is in 6 October, and I think with the support of Mr. Sisi for the contribution of science and developing scientific research in Egypt, especially in the field of nuclear power and medicine and nanotechnology and these kind of researches. So I want that the Egyptians, as lovers of Dr. Zuwail and also lovers of knowledge, to continue his project and to support it financially and morally and academically, to flourish and to achieve his ambition and his target in establishing such a university, because before he dies there were many problems about where the headquarters of the university or the Academy of Science to take place, whether with the Nile University or to have
its own
a
premises.
certain place to be established. I think the government itself supported that project, and it gives a place for the university. And now I live very close to the University of Dr. Zuwail or Zuwail Academy. It's beautiful. I see the buildings, architecture. I think with a lot of work and with some kind of Egyptian local attention and international attention, I think this project will give us what Dr. Zuwail was aiming to achieve with establishing such a dream. Dr. Zuwail for me in particular, as a novelist and as educationalist, because I also teach at the University of Ain Shams, I feel like that he has a strong will. Regardless the obstacles he faced before he leaves the United States, he proved to be a good citizen, and he proved to the international researchers that he is not inferior, he is equal, or maybe he is more important than others. But one beautiful thing that I liked about Dr. Zuwail, that he never belittled the contributions of others researchers. He always, when they asked him about how did you get the Nobel Prize, he always said, I got Nobel Prize with the help and the assistance of my university, which is Caltech, and the researchers. It's almost about 50 researchers around me who helped me. And this is the spirit of scientific research. It's a group work. As a scientist, you can't work alone. You have to work with a group of researchers, and at the same time the academic institutions have to support you, because research is a costly one, and without the contribution of the government and private sectors and industries, they will never achieve anything. And in his book, which is The Age of Science, published at Baruch, and it was written first. Okay, it was first written in English, and then it was translated. And Naguib Mahfouz wrote a preface to this book, and also Zuwail spoke about his own life and his development. And he states three things, Zuwail, that if you want to achieve scientific progress in any country, or if any country wants to make progress, it has to depend on science and to depend on academic and the scientific research, because after 50 years there will be no place for underdeveloped country, because now technology is sweeping and is controlling everything. So if you became lazy and forget education and medical research, I think this country will never has got any existence in the international arena.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Now, Doctor, how can we commemorate his memory?
We commemorate his memory by continuing his project. First of all, we have to finish the project, Zuwail Academy, in October, 6 October City, and at the same time to create a lab in each scientific place, or university, in the universities at Faculty School of Sciences, and to every year to give a prize for a scientist, for example, whether undergraduate or postgraduate or a professor at Egyptian University, or even international researcher who helps in developing the area of his research with biomedicine or femtosecond and this kind of things. So by trying to support his contribution and his figure as an importance, he became a colossal. Zuwail is a colossal now, is an icon figure in the international field of research, scientific research. So I think that Egyptians universities should create labs under his name, and at the same time celebrates his birth every year, and at the same time encourages the new scientists by giving them money and the support.
So what about the Egyptians? How do you think they received the news of Zuwail passing away as an icon they aspire to be?
They were very sad. You can see that everybody is sad about Zuwail, but they feel like they have sense of regret and remorse because during the revolution Zuwail was a little bit involved in politics, whether he was involved or whether he was willing to be involved. And this politics for scientists sometimes is a thorny area where you shouldn't trade in it, because people differ. It's like an artist or like a man of letters. He should be independent he should focus on the field of science. But I think, generally speaking, Egyptians demand his best. They feel like they have lost a treasure. They have lost one of them, because he always stresses his sense of belonging. He always stresses he's an Egyptian. And when he won the Nobel Prize, the first thing he did, he came to Egypt and he started to promote for the field, his field, and he always talked to the president, to Mubarak, and all the presidents, the three presidents who came to Egypt's ruling place, talk about the importance and the value of science in developing Egypt. Because if you don't give so much attention to the field of science and medical research, how can you survive among the developed countries? And he always calls in his lectures in Cairo University or American University, or even in an opera, because opera has salon, and he always preach for the support of science and creating scientific researches in Egypt.
Yes.
So I think Egyptians are very sad, because he is one of them. He is one of the sincere and honest and clever, and he's a genius mind.
Indeed, Mr. Bahaa, Abdel Mageed, novelist and writer, thank you very much for this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for meeting me today and allowing me to speak about such an important figure. And thank you. And I think Dr. Zuwail will be remembered forever.
Of course.
Thank you very much. And it's worth mentioning that on Monday it is expected that a military funeral will take place for the renowned late international Nobel laureate as well. Also, Nile TV will be broadcasting it live, so make sure to follow us on that important day. But now it's time to interview Mr. Tamer Karawan. Ahmed, do you have information about him?
Yes, of course. Tamer Karawan is an Egyptian composer, and we have heard his artistic compositions in different fields, and different songs and different film scores and soundtracks as well, for the Ramadan series to be specific. And right now we'll be listening to some of his works, and we'll be right back again with him in person, so stay tuned.